The market was stronger Friday morning, taking back some of yesterday's losses. Canola up $2 to $5. July up $4.30 at $664.50 per ton. New crop November up $2.90 at $686.10. The July and November contracts both tested nearby chart support overnight, but managed to turn higher as traders squared positions ahead of the weekend. Gains in the Chicago soy complex provided spillover support, with European rapeseed and Malaysian palm oil also higher on the day. Relatively favorable weather conditions across the prairies did remain bearish, although recent rains have delayed seeding operations in some areas. In the U.S., soybean, corn, and wheat futures are all higher. Soybeans, underpinned by ideas recent losses were overdone, correcting after falling the previous three sessions. The July contract up 6 cents at $12.16 per bushel. Weekly U.S. soybean export sales of about 330,000 tons were in line with expectations, but still low overall, as increased availability of South American soybeans cuts into the demand for U.S. beans. Argentina reported the soybean harvest there at 86% complete. That's only slightly behind the 90% average for this time of year. U.S. weather conditions remain mixed, with farmers still working to finish spring seeding around consistent shower activity. Corn traders also keeping an eye on Midwestern weather ahead of the weekend. The July contract up a penny at $4.50 per bushel. Weekly U.S. corn export sales of about 1 million tons of old and new crop business combined were in line with trade expectations. Argentina's corn harvest is nearing the halfway mark, according to reports out of the country. Wheat futures posting small gains, with Russian production concerns still in focus. While there is some rain in the forecast, hot temperatures in Russia will likely limit any benefit from the moisture on wheat crops. Weekly U.S. wheat export sales were at the higher end of trade expectations at about 380,000 tons. Minneapolis spring wheat up a penny in the July contract at $7.43 per bushel. Kansas City 4 cents higher in July at $7.14 per bushel. And Chicago soft wheat up 2 cents in the July contract at $6.83 per bushel. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, May 31st. In Winnipeg, for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Phil Franz-Workington.
Spring into action with Butler Farm Equipment and check out their wide range of farming machines and tools designed for efficiency and durability. From top-notch Toro and gravelly zero-turn mowers to versatile implements for compact tractors, ATV, UTV sprayers and spreaders, they have those as well. For the green thumb enthusiasts, try their Mackenzie and West Coast seeds for a bountiful harvest. Butler Farm Equipment also has generators, walk-behind trimmers, and chainsaws. Head to Butler Farm Equipment today. Equip yourself for a fruitful spring.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your host, Dub Craig.
Welcome to This Week in the Peace. I'm Steve Berard. Later on, I'll be discussing the ways emergency department diversions are affecting the community in Chetwynd, and some recent news about the Northern Initial Fire Attack Crew Base moving away from the district with its mayor, Allen Courtoreille.
But first, Fort Nelson and the Fort Nelson First Nation residents have headed home this week after being guests in Fort St. John and other parts of the Peace for about 2 weeks while wildfires threaten the area. To talk about the return to the area and maybe getting back to at least a sense of normalcy, I'm glad to be joined now by Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Mayor Rob Fraser. Rob, welcome back to This Week in the Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. First of all, let's talk a bit about the return. It was earlier this week that you announced that the evacuation order was being lifted. How's that gone so far in getting everyone back to town?
Yeah, you're right. We lifted the order on Monday morning at 8 a.m. and replaced it with an alert because the fire is still burning all around us. But the return to the community has been going really, really well. We were concerned that there'd be a big panic rush sort of back into the community, but But our residents showed some really good sense, and some of them stayed the extra night, and they basically came back in dribs and drabs. My understanding was there was, a couple of convoys of 10 or 15 vehicles, but for the most part, it was single families coming back on their own time. It's 400 kilometers between here and there, so people get to stretch out pretty good. I didn't hear of one single incident or injury, either on the evacuation or on the return. So that made us feel quite a bit better.
That's great news to hear. Do you have any idea about, has everyone come back yet, or is there still some residents who are, or I don't know, I guess taking a few extra days to kind of come back because they want to be sure that everything's kind of ready? What have you heard on that front?
Yeah, so there are still people out. There are some who are called extraordinary evacuees. So in other words, they've got some kind of underlying medical condition or something like that, where our services are not quite up to speed yet, and so for one reason or other, they decide to stay out. Mm-hmm. Then there are others who just wanted to avoid the rush, and others, who have various different reasons. I mean, there's, what I can understand, around 3,500 people, and that's 3,500 stories, and they'll all have their own decisions that they made. But the community looks like it's full. We got people parking downtown, shopping. We got most of the businesses are open in one way, shape, or form. So yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of return to normalcy.
Yeah. Is there anything that hasn't really reopened fully, anything major? Because I know, for example, like I saw the library announce, we're going to have some reduced hours until I think like next week when kind of things get back to normal. Anything major still sort of getting up and running fully?
Yeah, our own operation at the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. I mean, when we moved our emergency operations center out, we also moved our entire government. So basically all our servers, all our files, everything went with that group on that Sunday afternoon, and they were set up again at Pink Mountain on Monday afternoon. So you can imagine how quickly they pulled out of here, and with that, our entire government operation. So they're putting that back together as we speak, and we'll be open for full services on June 2nd. So that's the major one. I think, as you've said, there's a lot of business pinging me on my phone saying we're not quite ready. All our employees are not quite back. We don't quite have all the stock we need to open fully, so we have reduced hours of service. But I think by next week that everybody will be back to normal.
Man, it's kind of remarkable to think how quickly everyone left, and then even how quickly everyone has come back and been able to, get the doors open. And really, what'll amount to about a week since the evacuation order was rescinded, if most things are kind of back up to regular working hours on Monday, Rob?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, with literally no notice, right? Our employees came to work on Friday morning, the 10th, doing their jobs, clerks and payroll people, and looking after our government. And by that evening, midnight that evening, they had moved the entire community, those who chose to go. So around 3,500 people, we figure, 400 kilometers in about 6.5 hours. And then by Monday, they had also moved their EOC and the entire operation in the municipality 200 kilometers, right, to Pink Mountain. And so for folks who got up on a Friday morning, just, looking forward to the weekend and doing their job that day, they did an amazing job at standing up the resources for an army of firefighters. So, yeah, my hat's off to every one of our employees and the way they stood up and helped out.
Mm-hmm. So looking forward, we'll look ahead in the short term kind of first. I mean, as you said, you're still under an evacuation alert because, there are wildfires are still burning nearby. We were talking a bit even off air about how, we're watching closely with things sparking up in the black, I think you were saying, where you're not so concerned about that because it's burning in an area that has already kind of been burned through, but the wildfire service and everyone kind of watching for the perimeters of fire, right? So it's sort of returning, but you're still under an alert. What sort of challenges is the municipality facing and even residents facing in saying we're back, but we also sort of still have to be ready to go if, God forbid, it happens again to us?
Yeah, June 1st is tomorrow. It's extremely early in this fire season, and we've had to evacuate our community for 2 weeks already. So, there's a huge logistics challenge for us to learn about our evacuation plan, because it's never been exercised before. It was a plan. It worked as far as we're concerned, but people will have experienced just little things that probably could have gone better.
Yeah.
The ESS, as it was stood up in Fort St. John with no notice, those folks did an amazing job. Oh yeah, by the way, 3,500 people are going to be there in 4 hours. Do you think you can stand up a station for us? Amazing work. But that's going to come with its own little glitches, right? And so we're going to try to get feedback from that. Although we're not directly responsible for it, we can get people's experiences and feed it into the system. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, finally, what are we going to do about the fuel around our community? What does our wildfire resiliency plan look like moving forward through this summer? So we'll be getting ideas. That'll be probably a separate group of meetings, but we'll have those people who are interested come together and give us their ideas with respect to fuel conditions and fire smarting our community. So we've got an awful lot of work to do this summer. It's not all going to materialize in the first day. Our first meeting is going to be June the 12th, where we ask people to come in and talk about their experiences so that we can modify our plans.
Well, Rob, it's been something to definitely witness, and I'm really glad everyone has been able to get home and that it went fairly smoothly, and that you've joined us once again to talk about this, Rob. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Call me anytime.
Absolutely. That's Rob Fraser, the mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. We'll be right back to have Steve talk to the mayor of Chetwynd, Allen Courtoreille, right after this on This Week in the Peace. Do you have some good news you'd like to share with the community? We here at Moose FM want to share your positivity every weekday. Whether you're fundraising for the SPCA or saw someone doing a good deed in the community, we want to hear from you. Email us at reception@moosefm.ca and we'll share your good news right after the 7:30 a.m. news and on our Facebook pages. Good news is brought to you by Frontier Law.
4 chart-topping bands are joining forces for an epic 80s club tour. This wicked lineup includes Honeymoon Suite, A Flock of Seagulls, Spoons, and Men Without Hats. On November 13th, come party like it's 1985 at the Ovintiv Event Center. Tickets on sale Friday at lakeviewtix.com.
Hey Jeep lovers, Fort City Chrysler is inviting you to their awesome Jeep Showcase event. Mark your calendars for Saturday, June 1st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're also firing up the grill for a charity barbecue to support the DIPG Foundation, helping in the battle against pediatric brain tumors. Every bite you take helps fund important research, so you can have fun and make a difference. Spread the word and come show off your Jeep at Fort City Chrysler on June 1st.
There's trouble brewing in Bikini Bottom. Someone has stolen King Neptune's crown, and it looks like Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob's boss, is the culprit.
You, be back here with my crown in exactly 10 days.
He can do it in 9,
8,
7,
6, that's it.
5.
Just 6 it is then.
The Fort St. John Co-op and SLB present the second movie in this year's Movies in the Park series, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Travel down to the underwater city of Bikini Bottom and join SpongeBob and Patrick on a wild adventure to prove his innocence. This movie is free to attend and will be shown in Centennial Park on June 14th at 7 p.m. The Northern Dance Theatre Society will ensure that all the popcorn kernels have been popped.
This movie in the park is brought to you by SLB, the Fort St. John Co-op, and 100.1 Moose FM, and proudly supported by Burger King, Trican Well Service, CN Rail, Murray GM, Dan Davies, your BC United MLA, and the Fort St. John Home Hardware.
A big part of Petron is the guys in our installations department. You might think we just install two-way radios and cell phone boosters. We do install those, and we do a great job. But what you probably didn't know is we also sell and install all types of LED and amber lighting, GPS systems. We are an authorized GeoTab and GeoTrack installer, as well as an exclusive GeoForce partner. Ask us how to track any of your equipment via satellite for just $10 per month. Our name is Petron. Come down and see Cameron and the boys. You'll be impressed with what they can do.
You can watch this show live on Facebook, catch the replays at energeticcity.ca, or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back. I'm Steve Berard. Every community needs consistent access to healthcare and an assurance that they'll be safe in the event of a wildfire. For some residents in the district of Chetwynd, neither of those has felt like a guarantee lately, with changes coming to the Northern Initial Fire Attack Crew Base and frequent diversions at Chetwynd Hospital's Emergency Department. I'm joined today by Chetwynd's Mayor Allen Courtoreille to discuss both of these issues and how the district is addressing them. Allen, how are you doing today?
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. We're always happy to have you. Thank you for your time. So, Allen, I'd like to start today with talking about diversions at the hospital. So far, we've been keeping track. There's been nearly a dozen since April 21st, including more than one this week. How does the district feel about that?
Unfortunately, that's what's happening around the province, but it seems to be happening more frequent and longer periods of time in Chetwynd. Of course, we don't feel very good about our health care being diminished in that way. So it is a very big concern for us here in Chetwynd. If we have any emergency, we have to travel to Dawson Creek or call an ambulance, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, to my knowledge, every single one of these diversions since April 21st has been caused by a lack of staff, either a lack of doctors or nurses available to work in the emergency department. Has Northern Health communicated with you at all about how it plans to address these staffing problems?
Yes, they have.
Can you tell me a little bit about what they're planning to do?
Well, the plan was to make sure, because of the doctors having the 2-year terms that they deal with in agreement, right? So that they move out, so they have to replace them with another doctor. So right now, I believe we had an incident with a doctor that he needed medical care. So that left the position open. So with that being said, one, because they're human beings, right? So they go through the same things that we do as patients, right? So they become a patient. So that was one of the reasons why we were on diversion a few times. But as for addressing the problem, we have administrator here in Chetwynd that is looking at the position of nursing, try to get the education, because it is a hard one to think about, that we have to take maybe 4 to 5 years to get an ER nurse. So hopefully by using agency nurses, we are trying to alleviate some of the problems. But when an emergency nurse leaves to go in an ambulance with a patient, then that puts us in a diversion situation. But for trying to get to the point of alleviating some of those problems with the doctors and the nurses. So we have two things. That's why we're in such a terrible position here in British Columbia. And it's not just here in Chetwynd. But I guess I'm just beating around the bush here about how we're going to alleviate some of these things with the doctors. But as far as I know, we have 3 doctors coming in, and we're looking at trying to fill the positions with the ER. I believe we have Mrs. Borton that is looking after that part of it. She's the administrator for Tumbler Ridge and Chetwynd. We have a difficult time trying to make sure that they're going to be able to be available for a long period of time. So that's the other issue that's happening with our agency nurses. But as for trying to fill the positions, it's kind of tough for the doctors when their time's up. They do want to move on. So I'm not too sure exactly what Northern Health is planning to do about having doctors long-term.
Well, having 3 new doctors coming to the community is definitely going to help a bit. For the doctors and nurses who are working in Chetwynd right now, obviously they're dealing with understaffed conditions. They're working very hard. Do you have any message for those doctors and nurses out there right now?
Yeah, well, just about in any industry, I guess we have those shortfalls since the pandemic, right? we were short in just about every department, service departments, right? And now it's schools, and it's right into our health system. So it's a tough one to tell somebody that's been working overtime, doing their part, and saying, pat them on the back, saying, great job, which is something nice that you can say. But some of the times you just have to be able to stand in front of them and tell them that thanks, what a great job. And we do that through Mrs. Borton, that we ask her to tell the staff that we do appreciate what they're doing, the staff that are here in Chetwynd and the agency nurses that show up to help us out in the ER. So that's what I would tell them, that, it is a difficult position that they're in, but we do care here in Chetwynd.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I want to pivot now to the Northern Initial Fire Attack Crew base. This story has been developing for a while. We've been covering it since before I moved to the area. Can you give me a very quick rundown of everything that's happened so far from Council's perspective?
Yes. In January, we were notified that they were going to take initial attack out of Chetwynd and move it to Dawson Creek, and that's the first time we became aware of it. So we went and met the staff in Dawson Creek, and they said yes, that was the position. And so we investigated a little bit further, and we talked to the Minister Ralston, Ministry of Forests, and he was telling us, yeah, that's the position, and we will be located in Dawson Creek. I said, and our argument was that it's going to take 20 minutes by air and maybe an hour 10 to hour and 20 from Dawson Creek to Chetwynd. That's just to get to Chetwynd. And if there was fires situated west, north, and south of here, we would be in difficulty because of the time that it takes to get from Chetwynd to the fire. So if it's by air, it's not too bad, but by ground, it is too long. So our argument was that we have a helicopter base here in Chetwynd, and Dawson Creek does not have one, so they have to call somebody in from Fort St. John, I believe, to pick up the workers, the initial attack team, bring them to wherever the fires are, so wherever they are needed. But we're saying, well, if it happens here in Chetwynd, we used to have 3 located here in Chetwynd that resided in Chetwynd for the year, and we would they would be at the fire within 20 minutes or 15, whatever it took from Chetwynd to the fire. The initial attack crew would be there. So I talked to the minister, and he was saying, I just take information from my staff. So that was in Kofi in April. That was the conference in Vancouver. And then I had a chance to talk to Minister Ralston, and he indicated the same thing, that, okay, maybe I'll be listening to my staff. And I asked him, I says, I hope this is not money over safety. Mm-hmm. And I contacted Minister Ma. She's the Minister of Emergency and Climate Change. So I asked her, because she's the emergency minister. So anyway, I asked her the same questions, and she says, I hope that's not the case. And then here on Monday, at our council meeting, we had a presentation by BC Wildfire from Prince George and an attendee from Kamloops. The Kamloops for BC Wildfire, his last name was Schweitzer, and he was telling us that, yeah, we were dealing with budgets, and exactly I had a comment towards Schweitzer that I had asked specifically to Minister Ma, I hope this is not what it is. Mm-hmm. Money over safety. And that's exactly what we got when Schweitzer says, well, at budget constraints, we decided we had a building, we needed to fill it in Dawson Creek. So what I was worried about, and he was telling me exactly what my worry was. My worry was about money over safety. And that was the same thing with 20 minutes to get here to Chetwynd by air and an hour and 10 minutes to get here. So we are still hoping that they reconsider their position and continue to have the initial attack team here in Chetwynd. They give us this position on a new attack team called the Forward Attack. So they were here in Chetwynd. They'll be here all through the fire season, but then they move. Then they will be taken out when needed. So, or when end of fire season. And I don't know exactly when that happens now, because fire season started early this year, and I don't know how late it'll go. Some fires have never went out, as you know.
Absolutely, yeah. So you said there was a forward attack crew. Can you walk me through what the actual changes that are coming look like?
They will bring the crew in when they figure the fire extreme is high. So level, there's a couple levels that they run by. I'm not exactly sure what level they would have to be at in order for them to have the forward attack team here in Chetwynd. I'm certain it has to be extreme. But as for them, they won't be residing here in Chetwynd. They will be put up in hotels, and they'll still be a little bit away from the airport. So, the whole thing does not look good in the fact that they still have to get to the airport, where our base here, that Northern Initial Attack Team, was based right near the airport in Chetwynd.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Do you agree at all with BC Wildfire Service's decision? How do you feel about the idea of this forward attack crew?
No, that's the whole thing. I disagree with their position. That's why we were advocating to bring them back to Chetwynd and give us the opportunity to get to a fire when it erupts, or when the initial attack team maybe prevents a bigger fire.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Well, this is going to be an important story. We're going to be following it for the next little while as it develops. Hopefully we see some fire safety developments in Chetwynd. Mayor Allen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for having me on, and have a good day.
Absolutely. You too. That was Chetwynd Mayor Allen Courtoreille. We'll be right back to wrap things up on This Week in the Peace.
When we say there's always something going on in the energetic city, we mean it. The staff at the City of Fort St. John's Recreation Department always have a variety of exciting programs and events planned all year long. Swims and skates, camps and contests. You can find something happening throughout the city at the Pomeroy Sports Center, the North Peace Leisure Pool, Centennial Park, or the Cultural Center. For more, visit the City of Fort St. John Recreation page on Facebook or fortstjohn.ca.
As a global technology company, driving energy innovation for a balanced planet, SLB is constantly growing and looking for people to join their team. SLB is currently hiring for a number of positions, including field specialists, technicians, and maintenance technicians. SLB offers competitive wages and benefits, flexible work rotations, a northern living allowance, travel allowance, and outstanding training opportunities. To learn more about SLB or to apply, visit careers.slb.com.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm back again as your Fort City Chrysler Summer Cruiser host. Tune in to Moose FM this summer to hear all about the amazing events happening here in the North Peace and to get a chance to win some awesome prizes. If you want me at your event this summer, let me know by emailing me at cruiser@moosefm.ca. Moose FM will be everywhere with the Fort City Chrysler Cruiser, supported by the Fort St. John Co-op, Home Hardware, Lake Point Golf and Country Club, FSJ Return It, Rhythm Auctions, and Dairy Queen.
Clint Black. Killin' Time 35th Anniversary Tour. June 16th, Oventive Event Center, Dawson Creek. For the first time ever playing his groundbreaking debut album, Killin' Time, start to finish. Plus, more legendary hits. On sale now at LakeviewTix.com. Clint Black, live in this special concert event.
Get ready for Extreme Mudfest. Canada's largest mud music festival is here for 3 days of concerts, extreme motorsports racing, games, camping, and the famous after-hours saloon. Prove your truck's worth in mud drags, mega trucks, rock crawlers, one-of-a-kind challenges, and more. With on-site camping, vending, and after-hours parties, you won't want to miss Extreme Mudfest. Get your tickets now at extrememudfest.com. Moose FM is a proud partner of Extreme Mudfest in Dawson Creek, where the mud meets the music.
Before the Peace is an energeticcity.ca podcast, now available on all major platforms, that highlights Indigenous voices in Northeast BC. Host Trey Lapushinsky will take you on a journey with an Indigenous lens on the history of the Peace region.
On the newest episode of Before the Peace, Trey chats with Madeline Oker, language specialist at Doig River First Nation, about her upbringing, the work she has done at Doig for many years to revitalize the language, organizing the upcoming language revitalization event taking place at Northern Lights College in Fort St. John, and more.
Thanks to Troyer Ventures for making this show possible. Follow Before the Peace wherever you get your podcasts.
Peaceful Page's 1-year anniversary celebration is Saturday, June 8th. Stop by and enjoy a day full of giveaways, sales, and plenty of other goodies. Peaceful Page's Christian Bookstore's 1-year anniversary celebration, Saturday, June 8th on 101st Avenue in Fort St. John.
Moose Country weather.
Today, you can expect a high of 18 degrees, mainly sunny skies. Later tonight, a low of 6, and tomorrow, sun's going to come back out with a couple of clouds, high of 17. Tomorrow night, chance of some showers, high of 6 in the evening, and then on Sunday, high of 16, mix of sun and clouds.
You're listening to the all-new This Week in the Peace. Be a part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Thank you very much to our guests, Rob Fraser and Allen Courtoreille, for joining us today on This Week in the Peace.
You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North as well. That's our show. I'm Steve Berard.
And I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at energeticcity.ca.